Joining me now from the Security Studies Group and also former Green Beret, Jim Hansen. Jim, would it be wise to approach your vehicle brandishing an AK-47?
Only if you want to meet your maker. That's what happened to that idiot in Austin. God.
I've been trying to explain to people today, as best I can, that these guys, they grow up on college campuses. They learn all their Marxism on college campuses, and then they go out in the world and they bully a couple city people out around, and they don't realize that they're getting themselves caught up in a very dangerous game, and eventually you're going to approach a Mr. Jim Hansen in his car one day, and it's going to turn out differently than it did all those other times.
You know, and it's not like you don't have a reasonable fear of potentially getting shot. Up in Provo, Utah, they had a mob surrounded a guy, fired a bunch of shots into his vehicle. Mm-hmm. This is happening. It happened in Colorado over the weekend, too. They shot at a guy who didn't think it was a good idea for protesters to get in his way on a bridge. You can't do that and then expect people not to protect themselves. The right of self-defense is inherent.
Jim, how does this stop? When does this stop? How does this anarchy end? I mean, I know the joke of if Biden gets elected, it ends the day after the election, and I believe a lot of that's probably true. But what if he doesn't? What if Trump pulls this off? I'm worried this is going to get bloody, man. Bloodier.
I'm scared that you're right. You know, I have been a tough sell for the idea that we might eventually end up in some sort of armed conflict. But I think if Trump wins, the left's going to push that. You know, their crazies aren't listening to anybody now, and they're not about to accept, you know, the fact that they get Trump reelected. So I think it's dangerous if it goes their way. If it doesn't go their way, I don't think they're going to stop protesting, because they're not going to stop protesting. Biden's not their guy. You know, they're not going to stop protesting until he's out. It doesn't matter what you give them. You can't feed that crocodile enough.
So we've just lost America's cities? And I mean, I know you're probably not a huge city guy. I love the city and country. I love them all. I prefer the country, I guess, now because the cities are garbage. But we've lost them? New York, Portland, Seattle, they're gone?
They're kind of gone. Here's the interesting thing. I'm trying to figure out, going forward, where the split is. You know, you've got blue, red, you've got left, right, you've got all these things, city, country, and all of that. But what you've also got that's going to really show up when the right actually gets its ducks in a line is that Democrat rule is unhealthy for human beings. You know, people who live for an extended period of time under the rule of Democrats have horrible lives. You know, their schools suck, they have crime, they have drugs, they have rioting idiots that they can't stop. So I think at some level, the worse it gets for the people in those cities, the better for the rest of us, because it has to show that we cannot trust them to run our country. And, you know, I think normal people are going to come around to that conclusion.
How does it get better? Well, here's what I'm worried about, Jim, as far as getting better for the rest of us. Texas, these polls are looking scary, man. Ted Cruz only won over Beto O'Rourke by 2 points. I think these people are flocking to red states, and they are flipping them because they're bringing their voting preferences with them. And I'm worried if we start unloading cities like New York and Seattle and Portland, they're going to unload here and other places and flip them.
I think that's a very smart fear, and I think it could come to fruition. You know, I don't think anybody on earth has any idea what the results of this election are going to be. Anybody who told me they could predict this election right now, polls or magic or, you know, magic, I'd pick Marianne Williamson's magic crystals over any poll you've got right now. But we need to prepare ourselves for the possibility that Biden wins. And if Biden wins, we need to be ready to blame all the bad stuff, because it's not going to get better. You know, his crazy wing is not going to accept that victory graciously. They're not smart enough to do that. They're going to demand more, and more. So if he does win, we need to be prepared to show that they are the ones going to take us completely over the cliff, and then be ready in 4 years with Dan Crenshaw or somebody, you know, who might come back and show a little backbone.
Is it Crenshaw? Who the post-Trump era, whether that be 2020, 2024, Who are we looking to, Jim? Because I do not think – I think the Washington Beltway GOP thinking that once Trump's gone and we're done with that brute, we're going to go back to a more sophisticated, gentler way of politics. I think they're insane. I think people were scared. They're going to be going for a strong man of some kind. Who is it?
I'll throw Crenshaw out there in a heartbeat. I know there's people who have beefs with him, and he shows a little bit of softness on some social issues, but you kind of have to. We can't go back and say, okay, we're going to run a candidate now again after 4 or 8 years of Trump that says we're going to fight over everything. But you need someone who's not going to compromise on the things that truly matter. And I think what we need is some sort of platform that's kind of conservative and libertarian, but it has to have the fighting spirit of the MAGA crowd. That's what was proven to be effective. That's what Trump gave us, was the fact that fighting wins. And that's what the Beltway Republicans never grasped, and that's why they got thrown out, is they were willing to cave and be Democrat-like. Trump said, hell no, we're going to fight, and it works. So you got to have both those things and a fighting spirit.
Jim, what do we want out of this stimulus bill that's supposed to be coming out today? I don't want it at all. I'm horrified we're getting another one. Is there anything to look forward to in this thing?
I hate to say it, but with the fact that so much of the country is going to be shut down, the money's got to come from somewhere. So yes, it's a nightmare. Yes, it does everything wrong. And as a conservative, I, like you, am horrified by the idea of printing money and shoveling it out of 747s that fly across the major cities, which is mostly what it does. But it also gets money to normal people, too. If you look at the big corporations benefit, but they employ human beings. And a lot of small companies got money to pay their employees, too. So we got to do that until we can get the country fully reopened and the economy purring. And like you said, never be crazy enough to shut down a $19 trillion economy again.
Jim, when we break up as a country, should we break up into 2 or 3 or 4 countries?
I was actually looking at a map last night, man. Since I knew I was coming on with you, and I was trying to figure out where my Gulch is going to be. And I kind of want Barbara Streisand's mansion. I'm just saying.
Jim, this is not a war of conquest. It's a national divorce. You can't just take people's houses. I mean, maybe.
No, you can, actually. That's the point. I mean, they've been proving that. If they want to play this game, Jesse, it's not going to go good for them. We're the ones who know how to play the game. It's our game. We're just they're like role players coming out. They're like a kids' little league team coming out before a Major League Baseball game and showing off and playing around. And then they want to stick around. You really want to stick around and face a 90-mile-an-hour fastball? I don't think so.
Jim, what's the best thing? What's the best thing you grill?
I grill. Oh, dude, I take the dry-aged. We've got a Harris Teeter by me that does dry-aged beef. So they throw a whole rib roast in there, prime rib roast in there, and they let it age for 21 days. They'll cut you off a piece, and I have them cut me off about a 2.5 to 3 pound chunk of it, and then I do a reverse sear on the grill. So I do it real low and slow till it gets up to about 120, take it off, let it cool, then sear it in a cast iron pan, dude. Next time you're here, I will show you, brother. It is bliss.
Word. I have drool coming out the side of my mouth right now on the radio. Jim Hansen, Security Studies Group. Thank you, my friend.
Always good, Jesse. Talk to you soon.
Reverse sear. That sounds intense. Hang on.